Hello. Are you guys ready for me? Okay.
Good morning. My name is Parole Officer Torres. Today is Wednesday, March 26, 2025, and this is the hearing of the Connecticut Board of Pardons and Paroles. The following board members are present this morning, and by stating their names on the record, certify they have reviewed all statutorily required documents and available pertinent information and preparation of this hearing.
Good morning, I'm panel member Barry.
Good morning, Robert Sazowskis.
Nancy Turner.
Please state your name and inmate number for the record.
Andrew Knapp, 405-798.
This hearing is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for Andrew Knapp, number 405-798. He is serving a sentence of 34 months flat for violation of probation, underlying risk of injury to a child. As of today, records reflect a parole eligibility date of March 20th, 2005. There is no victim input in this case. There is an offender accountability plan. It has been reviewed. It shows the offender completed the short track sex offender program. Utilizing the statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system, the offender overall score falls within the moderate range of risk for recidivism. Utilizing the static 99R, the offender's overall score for sexual offense recidivism falls within the low moderate range. Mr. Knapp, this is your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should grant parole. You may begin.
Thank you. So I'd like to say before I began my problem sexual behavior class, I was honestly frustrated. I had to take it again. I felt I had already learned all there was to know, but truth be told, this was the first time I took the class while incarcerated, and it made a huge difference. I had no other obligations and no distractions. I had a clear mind and was in a great state to absorb some essential guidance. I now realize my violation occurred almost exclusively because of lifestyle risk factors I exposed myself to. I put myself into situations where it was too easy to make bad decisions. This class has taught me the importance of a disciplined, structured life so I can avoid these situations altogether. I've also learned some vital communication skills which should help me to build lasting relationships. I've been trying to replace these relationships in my life with promiscuity and drugs, when what I really need is in a partner is intimacy and dependability. I'm hoping that learning to be an active listener and effective communicator will help me build solid relationships. Finally, and most importantly, this class has taught me the true importance of accountability. Going forward, I will strive to take ownership of my mistakes and act with honesty and transparency. With that said, I'd like to take a moment to truly, deeply apologize to my victim, his family, my entire support system, who my actions have hurt beyond measure. I'm asking the board to grant me parole so I can have some guidance in the community upon release. I know I still have some issues to address, and I'm hoping the state will work with me to address these issues before my EOS in approximately 1 year. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Knapp, for taking the time out to write that statement. We appreciate your apology, and we're happy to see that you were able to complete and get something out of the sex offender treatment. We do have questions that we've prepared today in preparation for your hearing. Each of us will take a turn to ask those questions. When we are done, we deliberate and give you our decision. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Best of luck to you, sir. Ms. Turner will start with questions.
So, Mr. Knapp, you ended your opening statement by saying you still have issues to address. What are those issues?
I struggled with drugs in the past, and I've never. So I did do rehab this past year at the App Foundation, which was helpful. But while I was there, I still, I was on an ankle monitor. I still knew that I probably was going, no matter what, I was going to have to go to jail upon completion. So I just had a lot of outside factors on my mind, and it hindered, I think, me being able to give my entire self to the treatment. And, like I said, I have a year left until my EOS, and, in an ideal world, I can't go home because my mom has leukemia right now and she's about to get a bone marrow transplant. So that's out. So I'd like to go to a halfway house and from there either go into a treatment facility for a couple months or go to a sober house where I can try to go to some 12-step meetings and just really try to make peace with my past and learn to replace, whatever drugs or, things that I was trying to use to fill whatever void I have inside me, try to replace that with, a solid foundation. 43 years old, I feel like this is my last chance to make my parents proud. I know that I have a lot.
Okay,
Yeah.
hold on. All right.
Yeah.
Are you doing 12-step meetings there in the facility?
Honestly, right now I'm not because I feel like,
Okay, that's
all right.
going back to my original question. Are there other issues that you still need to address besides your struggling with drugs?
Yes, I definitely have some issues with PTSD and just a lot of, personality traits that I feel like as much as I appreciate the group classes, I'd like to do some one-on-one therapy. I have worked in the past with a CATSO certified therapist. Her name was Eva. She was at
Okay.
Stanford. I forget her last name.
Sure.
Sure.
Is there a part of you that's trying to avoid the group dynamic and being accountable to peers and
No.
other offenders?
No.
Okay.
No, I
So why
would like to.
one-on-one?
I haven't really, as an adult, had like extensive therapy one-on-one, and I just think it might be helpful. There's nothing,
Okay.
I'm not trying
But
to
you
avoid
mentioned
anything.
specific at CATSO. So that's not in lieu of doing problem sexual behavior treatment,
No.
correct?
No.
In a group
It's
setting. Okay.
In addition to.
So, Mr. Knapp, glad that you took track one. I've read the evaluation and I have a couple questions for you about that. But, where I'm coming from is in 2017, you were seen by the board for discretionary parole release and you were denied.
Yeah.
So you went out end of sentence to your probationary period and now you're back on violating the probation. So it's kind of hard to imagine that we would, once having previously denied you, now grant you discretionary parole. Do you see how that doesn't quite make sense?
I thought that maybe, a lot of time has passed, and I'm in a different state in my sentence now. I'm at the back end of my sentence. So when if you guys ask me to take it to the door, or however you phrase it, when I get out of here, I won't have any probation. So I thought maybe this would be a different set of circumstances.
Okay. Why do you understand DOC has denied you a halfway house release?
They haven't, no one said anything about that yet. I have been denied.
That is what I read.
I did too.
When was that?
We should also put on the record that on the 19th of March, we received a letter from the state's attorney in the Stamford Norwalk Judicial District objecting to you being released from incarceration or any modification of the conditions of your sentence. So we have the state's attorney weighing in your case. Just want to make sure you understand you have 2 standing criminal protective orders against you. They're full no contact orders through the year 2064. Can you tell me what you understand that means?
I can't have any contact whatsoever with my victims or anything to do with them. And, I've understood that, and I feel like I've definitely adhered to that.
You're not to have any contact through social media or third parties, as well as direct in-person contact.
No, I have never attempted to make any contact whatsoever.
This is me being absolutely certain that you understand the restrictions that are imposed on you by virtue of having a standing criminal protective order against you.
Yes, ma'am, I understand that.
Okay. So you indicate, or the evaluation of you indicates that you have learned ways to cope with stress. Can you tell me what those are?
Meditation, breathing exercises, sports, and, you know, I've learned a lot of patience and acceptance in jail. Because if you can't learn patience here, you can't learn it anywhere.
The summary refers to your cognitive distortions that you have struggled with. Can you tell me what some of those are?
I guess in the past, I felt like because of some issues that I had when I was younger, and, you know, some things that I myself went through, that I felt maybe I had like a victim complex or something like that. But, you know, as I've gotten older, I've realized that I'm the only person that has any say in what I do with my life. There's no one else that can take accountability for my actions, and there's no one else that can serve my sentence. I am the end all of whatever happens in my life.
Are there other cognitive distortions that you're aware of,
No, ma'am.
that especially put you at risk?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. How about treating kids in your life as peers and not showing the appropriate restraint for the position that you hold in relation to any
Sure,
given
okay.
child?
All right, so yeah, those were definitely issues that I dealt with in the past. I definitely, I think, related too well to the kids. I was too, you know, available as a peer when I should have kind of held myself to a higher standard. So that's definitely something I dealt with in the past. But I know now that even though, you know, in some ways I was a good teacher, that's not something I can do anymore. I've realized that for a while. That's definitely not something I plan on doing in my future. That's not a cognitive distortion I've dealt with for some time now. I have no desire to work anywhere near kids. I just, you know, I would like to do something that, you know, utilizes some skills that I have, but I know that that's one area that I can never go back to.
Can you talk to me about what healthy boundaries look like between adults and children?
Well, so in my circumstance, I can't have anything to do with them, period. You know, I've learned in the class how to just avoid those situations altogether. And ultimately, if something comes down to it where I'm in a situation, then just escape that situation. So because of my past, my boundaries are no contact whatsoever. So that's how I plan on living my life going forward.
So you failed to maintain appropriate boundaries with the children you previously had contact with and then subsequently victimized. Why do you think that was?
I mean, in the past, I definitely had issues with boundaries, like you said, and I had some occupational risk factors. That's something I learned in class where, you know, I chose to work with kids when I deep down, I knew that was bad decision. So
And my question to you is why?
Why was it a bad decision?
No, why did you not maintain healthy boundaries? You were obviously getting something out of being inappropriate, or as you put it, too available to the children that you had under your care.
I guess maybe I struggled with maintaining appropriate relationships with other adults. I tried to kind of replace those relationships. But like I said, that's definitely something that's in my past. I have no plans of trying to work with kids in the future.
So you were having, you were using the contact with children to meet your own emotional needs?
I guess you could say that. Okay.
I'm asking you, is that the case?
I don't want to act, I don't want to seem like you're putting words in my mouth.
That's
I
why
guess
I'm asking.
I never gave this that much thought. I know that it definitely was a bad choice taking that job because of some issues that I struggled with, just my own emotional needs. But like I said, that's not an issue that I currently am dealing with. I have no contact with kids in my life whatsoever.
Well, you're incarcerated. So,
Yeah, I
you
know that.
So I'm going to read to you what's in the evaluation, because
Sure.
apparently you're not as clear as the evaluation portrays it. It says that you noted the emotional need being met through your problematic sexual behavior. In that moment, you were feeling loved, and you use sex as coping skill to manage negative emotions, including anger.
So what that was talking about, I think you kind of took that out of context. I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
I don't mean to offend you. I thought with the packet that I filled out, that was talking about sex in general. So sex with adults, that was talking about. In terms of my offense, that was more of I don't think I tried to use that to feel loved or anything like that. It was definitely just a terrible decision I made, and there definitely was that's not true. I'm sorry.
But it kind of fits with your suggestion that you struggle with adult relationships, that, relationships involve, feelings and emotions. So you were replacing that with whatever boundaries you were crossing with the children in your care.
Okay.
Did in any of the programming that you've done so far, was the issue of grooming addressed?
Yes, it was.
Okay. Do you identify behaviors that you were engaged in at the time that that constituted grooming?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, because I read about it from the perspective of the victim's mother.
Mhm.
In the pre-sentence investigation, she was pretty clear about seeing things in hindsight that she didn't pick up on, but were red flags. So when you were interviewed by the parole officer in preparation for today,
Yeah.
you made a statement that stood out for me. You said you'd rather be a saint for a year than the next 5 years. What did you mean by that?
I don't recall saying that specifically. I'd rather be a saint for a year than the next 5 years. I think maybe what I was referring to is that the thought of doing a year of parole, because some of the restrictions are a little bit onerous and make it tough to be like a participating member of society. Like I know when I was on probation, we couldn't have smartphones, we couldn't really use email. So it was tough to get some jobs that I was interested in and things like that. But if that's just something that is going to be part of my life for a year, then that's a little bit less daunting than having to deal with that for 5 years. I think that's what I was referring to. Because when I got out of jail last time.
You did comment that you were given too many restrictions on probation. It won't be any different on parole. The conditions that I've written down already include device monitoring and restrictions on pornography.
Yeah. I mean, I have no problem with, pornography or anything like that. That is not at all. I think that's entirely appropriate. I just had trouble with, a lot of jobs now, when you show up for an interview, the first thing they ask you is what's your email. They expect to communicate with you almost exclusively over the internet. So when I couldn't do that on probation, I just found that was the hardest thing that I struggled with.
So you indicated when you were in the short-term sex offender program there in the facility that if you were granted parole, you would have about a year. And you noted that you would just grin and bear it in hopes they have your best interests at heart.
Well, no, so, okay, that again was, I think, kind of taken out of context. So what I meant by that is, I am, no matter, even if I disagree with some of the restrictions placed on me, I know I'm capable of following whatever guidelines I need to follow, jumping through whatever hoops I need to jump through, to make my life successful over the next year. I know that that's something that I'm capable of, and it's not as, like I said, it's not as daunting as having to do that over a 5-year period. And yeah, I do hope that parole has my best interests at heart. I've never dealt with parole before. I've only dealt with probation. I'm not sure what the differences are, but you know, I know in the past from talking with people that were incarcerated, some people had parole officers that they thought went the extra mile and really helped them to, you know, reduce recidivism and become a valued member of the community. And if I am granted parole, I hope that that's something I can experience.
You would be under the sex offender management unit. Parole officers have arrest powers, so you violate your conditions and you're brought back to prison. It's not a process of documenting like we have here, all of your failures to report, all of your manipulation around which gym you're working out at, your use of ecstasy, you know, and documenting all of that, and then trying different methods to intervene with you before going before a judge with a warrant to then go out and arrest you. Be a much faster process. So tell me this, Mr. Knapp, you're so very confident that you can manage the 1 year remaining on your sentence and be in compliance. Why were you not doing that when you were on probation?
I think, like I said, I had too many lifestyle risk factors. I was living at my parents' house, and like I said, you know, I don't want this to make this like I'm asking for pity. It has nothing to do with my parole, but my mom was going through a lot of health issues, and so my parents really couldn't worry about me. You know, I'm an adult. I made my own decisions, but I definitely just started hanging out with some friends that weren't great influences, and I put myself in a position where it was possible to reoffend. First year or so I was out.
I'm gonna stop you there. I'm gonna stop you there because you were actually actively working against your probation supervision and your problem sexual behavior treatment contract. When they did the residential search of your bedroom, they found a host of inappropriate, disallowed things. And I don't think that was the influence of friends. And then they went ahead and they gave you permission to attend a certain gym between school hours. And you took it upon yourself to go to another location. And the Greenwich Police Department received complaints from the staff at the gym because the children were telling them that a creepy man was watching them. So far, I have acted with your.
I missed the last 2 minutes that you just said. You guys were frozen on the screen.
What I was saying to you, sir, is that you were actively working against both your supervision and your treatment when you were out on probation. And, you know, none of that seems to be the influence of friends, except maybe the drug use, or your parents, you know, having their focus on your mom and her health issues. Yeah. So, you know, these are choices that you were making, fully aware of the contracts that you signed for probation and problem sexual behavior treatment, and you were sabotaging your own progress.
Yeah,
And
no, and
so
I
you
take
said-
accountability for that. I do take accountability for that.
But you're sitting here absolutely confident that you can white knuckle it through 1 year of parole successfully.
I'm not asking to white knuckle. I don't want that to be your thought. I do want to utilize whatever help I can get on the outside. And, you know, while I've been in here, I don't have any DRs. I have no problems with the staff. I've just kept my head down and focused on getting through this time. And I think I'm at a stage in my maturity that I can handle that on the outside as well.
I'm concerned for you because you do have addiction services on your OAP, and you were actively abusing substances while on supervision. And, you know, that's going to interfere with your ability to avoid the cognitive distortions and some of the other contributing factors in this case. So
I've been entirely sober now for the entire period that I'm incarcerated, and I'd like to continue that on the outside. I'm not saying that I don't have these issues. I'm admitting to these issues, and I'm asking for help.
all right, Madam Chair, I don't have any more questions for Mr. Knapp.
Thank you, Ms. Turner. Mr. Sosowskis?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, sir.
Hi.
So my colleague has asked almost all of the questions that I had. You know, I'm also concerned about the addiction services part of this. Have they ever offered you the program? You have it on your OAP, but you haven't.
No. I took it, my last sentence. This jail that I'm, you know, MacDougall right now, it takes a lot longer to get into programs here. When I was in Cheshire, I did tier 2 when I was there. I did commercial cleaning. I did carpentry. I was a tutor. There, if you wrote and asked for a job or be in a program, you were placed in a program within a week or two. Here, if you have under a year at this facility, it's very, very hard to get into programs. The problem sexual behavior they got me into, because I know it was on my OAP, but I've asked to be in tier 2. I've asked to be in voices, and they both told me that they said I was on a waiting list. That's all. I've heard that about a job. I've heard that about other programs. So that's something that I definitely would be, you know, eager to do in the community if I am granted release.
Have you ever been in AA in the community? Have you had a period
Yes,
of sober time in the community? Yeah.
So I lived in a sober house in East Haven right before I came into jail. And while I was there, we had 12-step programs in the house. And we would occasionally go out to 12-step programs in the community. I was going to 3 or 4 a week on average. So it is something I've done in the past, and it's something I definitely am interested in doing upon release.
Yeah, we're talking about cognitive distortions and making decisions. And entering substance abuse into all of this is just, you know, making it much worse for you, you know. So it definitely is an area that has to be addressed for me to feel comfortable with all of this. I wish you would have been able to take a program before you came before us today, you know.
Okay.
So, all right, that's all I have, sir. Thank you.
Thank
I'm
you.
going to ask Officer Torres, can you look up, so I'm looking at the DIS from his last period of incarceration. Granted, it was June of 2017. It indicated he hadn't done any programs. He went out to probation in October of 2020. Did he do tier 2 between 2017 and 2020? Can you find that?
I actually did that. I did it in Brooklyn, I think, actually.
It says in this DIS, in today's under,
I had it up.
it does say during his previous incarceration, he completed tier 2 in 2018.
Okay.
It's in the current DIS.
Yep. 2018.
But I mean, he's had substance abuse problems after that.
Mm-hmm.
I also was in residential rehab in 2024, and that's something that I'm interested in pursuing after my release.
Okay. So Mr. Knapp, our question and answer period is over now. We're going to deliberate about your case and give you our decision. Please don't interrupt. You can listen. Please do not interrupt. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Turner?
So as I've pointed out, Mr. Knapp was unsuccessful in a variety of ways while he was on probation for the underlying crime in which a child was victimized sexually. He has, since coming back to prison on the VOP, participated and completed track 1, seems to have some new understandings. I know that the evaluation looking at it 2017 problem sexual behavior treatment evaluation. You know, he appeared to violate in ways that undermined his participation in problem sexual behavior treatment in the community. He appears to have some new insights to work with. And an interest in additional treatment and therapy, which I think is very much needed, and you know, something that I hope he has the resources for. I will not be voting him to discretionary parole today. The poor performance on community release, the nature and circumstance of the offense, and I just, I'm not quite there finding him suitable for discretionary parole. And as I pointed out, he was denied before going out to probation, which he has subsequently violated. So I'm going to say no, and again, acknowledge the input from the state's attorney objecting.
Thank you, Ms. Turner. Mr. Sezeskas?
I agree.
So do I. I have inadequate program participation. We talked at length about his substance abuse issue and his lack of treatment there in the facility. I do hear that he completed the treatment when he was out in the community, and he has maintained his sobriety, but there are other programs. He could have refused a refresher course because
Well, he's not even doing 12-step meetings.
so I had that as a condition, as a reason for denial. And I'm sorry, I started to write down what you were saying, Ms. Turner.
Poor performance on community release.
Poor performance on community release. Anything else?
I mean, the underlying nature and circumstance of the offense is quite disturbing. And I'll cite in the written decision the state's attorney's opposition.
Thank you. So we're ready with our official decision. So with regard to Andrew Knapp, 405798, I move to deny discretionary parole based on his poor performance on community supervision, the nature and circumstance of his underlying offense, and his inadequate program participation. He will not receive a new hearing. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Is there something you wanted to add? No?
No.
Okay. All right. So, Mr. Knapp, you will receive all of this in writing, sir. We could not support your discretionary parole today. We do wish you the best.
No, you don't. So you
Thank
want
you.
me to just finish my sentence all the way? So when I get out, I'll have no supervision, I'll have no support from the state, none of that, correct?
That is our decision for you to EOS. Yes.
All right, and do you have in writing that I was denied a halfway house also? Because I haven't heard anything about that.
I would talk to whoever your counselor is there in the facility to obtain a copy of that.
Mrs. Walker, I think it was, the lady closest to me, said something about that, and I haven't
Well,
received that in
of course.
writing.
Okay. So it says that, Officer Lanier reviewed your case on March 10th, 2025, and did not, and denied your community release. So again, that's something that you need to speak with someone in the facility about, and her name is not Walker, her name is Turner.
This is Ms. Turner right here, and
That is Miss Turner.
you're Ms. Walker?
I'm not Miss Walker. I'm not sure who Miss Walker, you're
Oh, it says
referring to our,
Janet, it says Janet Walker up on the screen.
that's our psychologist here at the board. So she's watching our hearings.
Why did you guys move my hearing up a month and then deny me?
Mr. Knapp, listen, it's over and done with. You've been
Yeah, no, I
denied,
understand
sir.
that.
Good luck. Thank you. We have another person to see. Thank you.
Yeah.
This concludes the hearing for Andrew Knapp.
You guys are terrible. Can't record. Ugh.